Elias sat alone in his cramped apartment, the silence amplifying the incessant hum of his own discontent. Every morning, the same routine: wake up, feel the familiar knot of tension in his stomach, and face another day where joy felt like a foreign concept. He'd lost count of the months, maybe years, since he'd genuinely laughed. A deep, unburdened laugh that reached his eyes. His reflection in the darkened window showed a man whose shoulders were perpetually hunched, as if bracing against an unseen blow. His eyes, once bright and full of youthful mischief, now held a weary, distant gaze. He worked as a graphic designer, a job that once thrilled him with its creative possibilities. Now, each pixel felt like a burden. Each client request a fresh source of irritation. He'd snap at colleagues, dismiss ideas, and retreat into himself, building walls higher and higher. He knew he was pushing people away, but the invisible anger that simmered beneath his skin made him feel justified, even righteous, in his isolation. It was a shield, he told himself, protecting him from further hurt. But in truth, it was a cage. The anger wasn't always directed at a specific target. Sometimes it was the traffic, sometimes the weather, sometimes the sheer banality of existence. But beneath it all, like a persistent, dull ache, was the memory of Leo, his brother. The thought of Leo was a poisoned arrow, always finding its mark, reigniting the old wounds, the perceived betrayals, the bitter words exchanged years ago that had severed their bond. Elias had convinced himself Leo was the source of his pain, the architect of his solitude. One particularly gray afternoon, as rain lashed against his window, Elias was hunched over his desk, trying to focus on a design brief. The words blurred. A searing headache pulsed behind his eyes. He felt a sudden crushing pressure in his chest, as if an immense, invisible weight had been dropped directly onto his sternum. His breath hitched. He tried to inhale, but his lungs wouldn't fully expand. Panic, cold and sharp, clawed at his throat. He gasped, a raw, desperate sound, his hands flying to his chest. The room spun. He slumped forward, his head hitting the cool, hard surface of his desk with a dull thud. The world went dark, not from unconsciousness, but from the sheer, overwhelming force of the anger finally consuming him, collapsing him under its unbearable burden. He lay there, trembling, gasping for air, tears silently streaming down his face. This wasn't just a headache or a panic attack. This was the culmination of years of unaddressed rage, a silent scream from his very soul demanding release. He couldn't bear it anymore. The weight was too much. Slowly, agonizingly, Elias pushed himself upright. His body ached. His mind felt foggy. But a single, undeniable thought cut through the haze. Asterisk. This has to stop. Asterisk. He looked at his phone, lying innocently on the desk. His fingers hovered over the screen, trembling. Leo's number. It had been years since he'd seen it, much less dialed it. His thumb felt impossibly heavy as he navigated to his contacts, searching for the name he'd deliberately buried deep in his memory. He found it. Leo, brother. The name glowed on the screen, a beacon of fear and hope. His heart hammered against his ribs. What would he say? What if Leo hung up? What if he was met with the same cold anger Elias himself had harbored for so long? He took a shaky breath, closed his eyes, and pressed call. The dial tone seemed to stretch on forever, each ring a hammer blow to his already frayed nerves. He was about to hang up, convinced it was a mistake, when a voice, hesitant and unfamiliar yet undeniably Leo's, answered.
Hello?
Leo's voice was deeper than Elias remembered, tinged with a weariness that mirrored his own. Elias's throat was suddenly dry. He swallowed hard, his voice a raw whisper, barely audible even to himself. Leo? It's Elias. There was a long, agonizing pause on the other end. Elias could almost hear Leo's mind racing, processing, perhaps even bracing himself. He imagined Leo's brow furrowed, his eyes narrowing in suspicion or old hurt. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, filled with years of unspoken words and unresolved pain. Finally, Leo spoke, his voice laced with surprise, and a hint of the old pain Elias knew he had inflicted.
Elias? I didn't think you'd ever call. Not after everything.
Elias felt a fresh wave of shame wash over him. I know, he managed, his voice cracking.
I know, and I don't even know where to begin.
You called, Leo stated, not as a question, but as an observation. A statement of fact that held a world of unspoken meaning.
That's a start, I guess.
It is, Elias agreed, a fragile thread of hope beginning to weave itself through the despair.
I needed to. I couldn't. I can't keep living like this, Leo.
Living like what, Elias?
Leo's voice was still cautious, but there was a flicker of curiosity, perhaps even concern, beneath the surface. Elias took a deep, shuddering breath.
Like this, carrying this invisible weight, this anger. It's been with me for so long, Leo. It's consumed me. It's made me someone I don't recognize anymore.
He paused, gathering his courage.
And I was so convinced it was all because of you.
Because of what happened between us. The argument, the words we said, the way we just cut each other off.
He heard a sigh on Leo's end.
I remember, Elias. Believe me, I remember every word, every silent year that followed.
I'm so sorry, Leo, Elias blurted out, the words tumbling out now, a dam breaking.
For everything. The silence, the anger. I let it become me. I was so angry at you for what I perceived as your betrayal, your selfishness. But the truth is, I was even angrier at myself. Angry at myself for holding on to it, for letting it fester, for letting it define me. I was angry at myself for not reaching out sooner, for being too proud, too stubborn, too afraid.
The confession hung heavy in the air, a raw, unfiltered outpouring of years of bottled-up emotion. Elias waited, bracing himself for Leo's rejection, for the anger to be thrown back at him. But instead, Leo's voice, when it came, was softer, tinged with a profound sadness. I understand, Elias, Leo said, and the simple words hit Elias with the force of a physical blow.
More than you know, I've carried my own share of that weight. The guilt, the regret. I should have tried harder to reach out too. I thought you hated me. I thought you never wanted to see me again. I was too proud to be the first one to break the silence.
But you didn't, Elias whispered, a new understanding dawning on him.
You didn't hate me. You were just waiting. Like me.
We both were, weren't we? Leo replied, a hint of a wry, sad chuckle in his voice.
Two stubborn fools, letting pride build a wall between us, brick by painful brick.
I thought I needed your time's forgiveness to be free, Elias continued, the realization hitting him with startling clarity.
But I think I needed to forgive myself first. For the anger, for the pride, for the wasted years, for not being the brother I should have been.
A moment of shared silence passed, filled with the echoes of their intertwined past, now finally being acknowledged, being aired. Can you forgive me, Leo? Elias asked. The question a plea, a desperate hope. Tears, hot and cleansing, finally streamed down his face, blurring his vision. This time, they weren't tears of anger or despair, but of release. Leo's voice was thick with emotion.
Always, brother. Always. There's nothing to forgive. We both made mistakes. We both hurt. But we're here now. And you, Elias, can you forgive me for my part in all of it? For letting the silence grow?
Yes, Elias choked out, a profound, almost dizzying relief washing over him. It wasn't just Leo's forgiveness he felt, but a deep, internal shift. The immense, invisible weight that had crushed him moments ago, the one that had been his constant companion for years, was lifting. It wasn't gone because Leo had absolved him. It was gone because Elias had finally confronted the true source of his torment. His own inability to let go, his own self-condemnation. The weight. It's finally gone, Elias whispered, the words barely audible. He felt lighter, as if he could float. The air in his apartment, which had always felt heavy and stagnant, now seemed fresh, breathable. For both of us, Leo replied, his voice softer now, filled with a shared, liberating peace.
It's gone for both of us.
I want to see you, Leo, Elias said, a genuine smile, one he hadn't felt in years, spreading across his face.
Can we? Can we meet? Soon?
I'd like that very much, Elias, Leo responded, and Elias could hear the smile in his brother's voice.
How about coffee? Next Saturday? My treat.
Perfect, Elias said, a warmth spreading through his chest, chasing away the lingering chill of his anger.
Perfect.
After they hung up, Elias sat for a long time, the phone still clutched in his hand. The silence in the apartment was no longer oppressive. It was peaceful, filled with the quiet hum of possibility. He looked out the window at the rain, which had begun to subside, leaving the world outside looking clean and refreshed. He felt a lightness in his step as he walked to the kitchen, a newfound clarity in his mind. The creative spark, long extinguished, flickered to life. He picked up a sketchbook, something he hadn't touched in ages, and began to draw, the lines flowing freely, unburdened by the anger that had once held him captive. He knew the path ahead wouldn't be without its challenges, but for the first time in a very long time, Elias felt truly, profoundly free. He had found peace, not by conquering an external enemy, but by confronting the one within. The invisible anger had finally dissolved, replaced by the quiet strength of self-forgiveness and the renewed hope of a brother's love. He had learned that sometimes, the hardest person to forgive is yourself, and that true healing begins when you finally extend that grace.